Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm here today with my co-host, Jerrika Alex, and we are the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness, here today with another episode. Hey, Jer, how you doing?
Hey, Alex. I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I did something the other night that I know you would love because you've talked about the cold baths and how you like the cold baths a lot. So we went and actually went to the Scandinave spa and did the hot cold baths. Have you ever done one of those before?
Oh yeah. Yes, I have.
This is the first time that we've done it, and let me tell you, that is amazing.
Don't you feel like a completely different person? It's actually insane. Did you follow the right steps?
Yep.
Yeah. It's like
we followed it to a T. We did, like they said, do 3 to 5 rounds. We did 5 rounds. We tried the sauna, the steam room, the hot tub. We did the cold bath each time in between with like the relaxation. It was awesome. Felt so great. I would love to just I was thinking about how I could squeeze a sauna into my backyard.
Honestly, every time I leave one of these places, I'm like, okay, it's on my phone. It's like I'm researching how to get a sauna. How can I buy one? They're pretty expensive though.
Yeah.
But I do try to incorporate it. It's still very hard for me, but I do try to incorporate it a couple times a week just because I feel so good. So good.
One of my friends actually converted a chest freezer into an ice bath.
Yeah, I've done. There's tons of things online to tell you how to do it.
Yeah. So that you don't always have to be buying ice.
Yeah, exactly. Because I had bought. I mean, the winter it's a little bit easier, but I had bought one of those bigger like horse feeding tubs.
Yeah.
And then there's something you can buy on Amazon where it keeps the water moving, so it doesn't actually freeze in the winter.
Okay.
But excuse me, but it's insanely cold, of course, because it's freezing temperatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
But I actually, side note, I just went out to Alberta and I went into the glacier fed lakes, into the water. That was the coldest ice bath I probably had ever done. It was so cold.
I did that out there one time too.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Lake Louise, we swam in.
Cool. Yeah. I love it though. Feels good.
Awesome. So today I want to talk about as we approach holidays, and there's lots of different holidays this time of year that people typically struggle with. So not any holiday specific, because I know some of our listeners celebrate different holidays, and this can be a struggle at any holiday. But as we approach this season that has lots of different holidays, just preparing and what that kind of looks like, and how to really do a great job through the holidays. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we can tackle it. Are we tackling this in a way that for someone who's got specific goals, or just to keep it from maybe not having to start all over come the new year? Is that kind of what we're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, most people listening to this, I think their overall goal is fat loss, but I think we should definitely approach it from a sustainable fat loss route, right?
Awesome.
Like we're not talking about fixing your whole life in the next 2 months. We're talking about like how to turn this into a lifestyle and come out ahead in the long run.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool.
I like it.
So I think there's a saying that I think is an important one, but your progress isn't going to be made from the days between Christmas and New Year's. Your progress is going to be made from the days between New Year's and Christmas, right? So it's not those 5 days between Christmas and New Year's that are going to have a massive impact. I'm not telling you to write them off. It's way more important that you take care of the other 360 days between New Year's and the next Christmas. I think that's a good way to start this message.
And like you mentioned, there's like however many days between Christmas and New Year's. And then for those that are listening, most of you, I'm assuming, have kids, right? A lot of you are busy moms, and the kids are off for what, like 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Is that what they get?
Yeah.
So
2 weeks.
And right. And looking at it as if, sure, the kids are off for 2 weeks, but it's not a 2-week holiday for you, right? Because if we go completely out of routine and off the walls for 2 weeks, we're likely going to see some changes that that aren't sustainable, that we don't want to see. So, and we can dig into the specific, if you're celebrating Christmas or whatever meals you celebrate, and sit down, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts with Thanksgiving meals and how to navigate those specific big events. But I don't want us thinking that the entire 2 weeks is a 2 week period that we can go crazy and expect to still see maybe us see no changes, for example.
And honestly, this, like, it's not even just Christmas, New Year's. Like I said, obviously that there's people listening who celebrate different holidays, but like for some people, it's like Halloween happens and they're like, well, American Thanksgiving's right around the corner if you're an American listener. And then American Thanksgiving happens and it's like, well, Christmas is right around the corner. And then New Year's is right around the corner. And then we're going on a little vacation in January. So all of a sudden, like, instead of writing off what could be probably 2 big meals, 2 big days, has become like 2 months. Right?
Yeah, it's so true.
Your
And
long-term, sorry, your
no, go
long-term
ahead.
success in this journey is going to be determined by your bounce back ability, how well you can get right back on track after any obstacle or setback. Honestly, you could eat whatever you want on that one day and it's not really going to have that big of an effect. I'm not telling you to do that if that's not in line with what you want to do, but truthfully, one day is never going to make or break you.
Absolutely. And I was just going to say that in the one Thanksgiving meal and maybe the 2 Christmas meals and those 3 meals in the course of X number of months, if you did really indulge and enjoy yourself, but you were able to wake up the next day, drink your water, get back to routine, whatever your goals were, it will, in the grand scheme of things, will not affect what your, let's say, fat loss goals are. Now, if that turns into a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or like we said, like it just kind of keeps the bounce back ability is not there to the next day and the day after, then that's where we're starting to see the changes that we may not be looking for. So I would just say I just mentioned the routine, but keeping some sort of routine during these holiday periods of whatever might be a few months or weeks, but keeping as much routine as you can until those specific events actually do occur.
Yeah, there's 2 things here. I'm gonna write down one so I don't forget. I got a message from a client the other day who said, like, they took their very first, we call it an O day, but they took their very first O day, their first day kind of off plan, off track from what they do consistently, and were so discouraged by how the scale reflected as a result. And this is one of the biggest things that's going to throw people off during this holiday season, is that they're going to have that big meal and see what the scale looks like the next day or two and be so discouraged. All this hard work that I've put in now has gone out the window from one day. Well, the truth is, I mean, we don't need to get right into water retention today. I know we've talked about it lots and we cover it in different episodes, but like, this is all water retention, guys. Like, no matter how much you eat during that day, probably 95% of what the scale is showing you is going to be water retention. If you ate an extra 3,500 calories, which, I mean, like, I know I could do it, but I don't think most of our listeners could do it. You might have gained 1 actual pound that day. But other than that, it's water retention. When that scale goes up 3, 4, 5, 6 pounds, it's water retention. Drink lots of water, eat lots of vegetables, move on. It will come down as long as you bounce back.
Absolutely. And I think that's what happens with people who don't know what you just said, or aren't listening, or aren't a client with a coach. They don't understand that. So then when they see that scale go way up, it's like, now we're circling into the all or nothing mentality, or it's like everything I did was for nothing. I might as well just, eat all the leftovers from yesterday and indulge with the kids and not even return to my routine, because what's the point, right? And that's what we get a lot. What's the point but they don't understand that if they just got back to routine in 3 to 5 days, they'll probably see the same number they saw last week. Maybe it might even go back down. Like, you just never know. Everybody's a little bit different in terms of how many days it takes to come off that high sodium, high water retention meal when we celebrate. But just consistency, going back to the basics, back to routine, it will return back to your normal.
Yeah, and it's easy to get into that mindset that like, oh, I'll just start fresh on January 1st because it's the day that everybody starts fresh. But we talked about that 3,500 calorie surplus creating 1 extra pound, right? Like, so maybe on that one big meal, you ate 3,500 extra calories. So you gained 1 pound, one true pound, the rest is water weight. If you were saying now I'm going to wait till January 1st, now you're probably eating about 500 or 600 extra calories every day, meaning every 7 days from there, you're gaining another pound, right? Where there's a lot of days in between those big holiday meals where you could probably stay on track, stay to your plan, if you really reinforce that bounce back ability, if you will. I
Yeah,
want to
and I
talk.
think it's important too. And again,
No,
sorry, I think
you're
we just
good.
lagged a bit.
You're good. Go ahead.
Okay, and I said I just think it's important too to just touch on little ways that they can do this because when we get to these holidays and families around that we haven't seen in a long time and the kids are home, like I understand that it's hard. Like I know it's hard to stay on track. Like I can't sit here and say, you should be eating this when everyone else is eating that. Like that's not the idea, but it might be that your portions are smaller. It might be that you are prioritizing water before having those extra glasses of wine with the family. Like it's making those small little changes that over the course of X number of weeks or however long you're celebrating for, it's those little routine changes that we're consistently making that will make a difference and that won't kind of make you want to start all over on January 1st.
Yeah, I would encourage most people through these difficult seasons to push yourself into a maintenance phase. Honestly, like if we're looking at this journey from a sustainable standpoint, then 1 week or 2 weeks in your journey isn't going to make that big of a difference long run if we can still stay on track. So instead of like being like, I'm still going to keep making as fast of progress through these 2 weeks, what does maintenance kind of look like for you? I know for an easy reference, a lot of people sit in about a 500 calorie deficit during a fat loss phase so that every 7 days you're losing a pound. Well, if you added those 500 calories back onto your days, now you're not losing or gaining anything, but 500 extra calories per day is a lot of extra wiggle room rather than just being like, I can't stick to this at all, right? So consider what a maintenance phase could look like for you to get through that, where you're not going to make any progress, but you're also not going to lose any progress. I think that's really important for most people to consider, and it's realistic for most people to consider.
I'm really glad you touched on that because, we do have a lot of clients and listeners who typically really hammer down when the kids go back to school in September, right? So they're like, okay, I'm ready to go. We're back to routine. And now they're maybe in a fat loss phase, September, October, November. They might have seen 5 to 10 pounds of fat loss already when they're approaching December. And it's like, okay, so I've hit that 5 to 10 pound fat loss. And then, like you mentioned, they hit the holidays for 2 weeks, and that might be enough. They may have gained 5 pounds if they didn't have this conversation about maybe it's worth having that maintenance phase. And I'm really glad you mentioned that. So instead of thinking that they need to keep losing during this time, they just keep that 5 to 10 pounds of loss and hover at that maintenance. So that when they start to want to go hammer back down into routine again, probably once the kids go back to school, they're still in that loss from September and they don't have to feel like they're starting like they've regained everything they worked hard for from that first part of the year, or second, I guess, first part of the school year.
Yeah, somebody asked me the other day what is realistic what's sustainable to stay in a fat loss phase or to stay in a calorie deficit. And I think for most people it should be, I think our bodies naturally are going to make us do this with either injuries, illness, family gatherings, setbacks, holidays. We're going to just naturally build in these maintenance phases where we kind of go a little bit off track. But if you're the person that just grinds like 365 days a year, then you need to build in these little maintenance phases in order to make this sustainable. You can't 365 days of the year be making progress. You can for sure make progress, maintain, make progress, maintain, make progress, maintain. but you're going to drive yourself into the ground if you're trying to make 365 days of progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what we found with our clients is that basically, if you can stay 80% compliant or better on your nutrition, you can continue to make progress. So what that looks like for most people is that they choose 1 day per week where they go off nutrition a little bit. We call it taking an O day, but they go off nutrition a little bit. And this isn't an excuse to binge on that day. We don't look at it like a cheat day. We don't look at it like I'm gonna just go crazy and then get back on track tomorrow. It's like I'm gonna eat till I'm content. I'm gonna allow myself to have a little bit of things that I wouldn't normally, and then I will get back on track tomorrow. That's what those other 20% of days should look like. Now, coming into a holiday season, we need to shift that around. We always need to be looking forward. We need to look, okay, I've got 3 big meals coming up at the end of the month. I'm going to plan for those 3 big meals to be off track, knowing that I need to be 80% compliant with my nutrition or better. That means about 6 days per month, you can kind of go off track. So I've picked those 3 days. Now I have 3 other days throughout the rest of the month to use, rather than just getting into a routine where every Thursday night and Saturday night, you allow yourself to go off track. And then the end of December comes and you're like, oh crap, I didn't really budget for these 3, 4, or 5 big gatherings that well. Yeah, do you have anything you want to add there?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up, because we always talk about looking at your calendar weekly when you're planning, but especially in these big months, we got to look at the whole month and like put it out in front of you, like actually print it out and be like, okay, this day, and this is what we encourage our clients to do. Like mark the days that you know in advance towards the end of the month, like literally put an O on it to say, okay, now that doesn't count. I need to take that into consideration this week. And maybe that means I'm hitting 7 days this week because I really want to. And that's how you'll still see progress. Now, understanding that if you still took that O day this week and you'd already planned for all of the rest at the end of the month, that might end up being some type of maintenance time and period in your fat loss journey, because now you're under that 80%, right?
Yeah.
So when you're under that 80%, you might not still see progress, but it all depends on, and also the intensity of those O days as well.
Yeah. And maybe you've set your goals too strict, right? Like if you aren't able to stay 80% compliant, there's probably a good chance that you've set your goals, you've set your guidelines and goals a little bit too restrictive for the time of year, the situation that you're in.
Yeah, awesome. I always just like to remind people too, with these extended holidays, like instead of just, when we say holidays, typically I think like 1 day is the holiday, but when I think towards the winter holidays, I think they're extended in terms of, they almost feel like weeks long. When it comes down to these specific meals with family, or when the kids are home, make sure we're not skipping meals. I just want to throw that in there because it's something that we see so often. It's like, I know tonight I have this big event with all my families down, and so I'm not going to eat breakfast or lunch so that I can save all my points, is what we use, or calories for that specific meal, so I can stay on track. But this typically results in even more of a binge. So just trying to wake up and see the morning and the lunch as your typical routine day. Get your protein in, get your water in, and just continue your day as if it's normal. But maybe that does mean you're going to have a higher protein or higher fruits and vegetable breakfast and lunch, but you're still feeling full and satisfied, so that you're not approaching these big meals with insane starvation feeling where you're just going to kind of shove way more in.
Yeah, if you can prioritize protein, fruits, vegetables, and water, you're gonna crush it. If you can, it's very easy to say this is an O day, or this is a cheat day, or this is a day where I'm not following my nutrition guidelines, so I won't follow any of them. But if you say, okay, no, this is gonna be an O day, I'm gonna eat a little bit extra, but I will still ensure I get my protein, fruits, vegetables, and water in, it's probably gonna be a very good day. And that's not that big of an ask, in my opinion, to still do that. What I would encourage you guys, if you're going to somebody's house, if you're going away, if you're not in control of the food, make those variables controllable, right? Like go to the grocery store, get some vegetables, go to the grocery store, get protein bars or beef jerky or protein shakes. Maybe it's not your ideal choice for protein, but make it so that you still have control over those factors. If I'm going out to somebody's house and I know it's going to be a low protein dinner, have a protein shake right before I go. Guarantees I'm getting in my protein regardless of what they serve. Is my nutrition going to be perfect that day? No, but at least I've controlled that one variable.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And for those that are listening, we talked so much about nutrition, but over the holidays, but I just want to touch on movement as well. Like you might be in a consistent movement schedule throughout this month and leading up to it, and then your family's home and it kind of throws you out of whack, and you might not be able to get out as much as you were. But try to find things that you can do with them that still gets you out of the house or moving. That's kind of like always my biggest recommendation. And usually most of us that are listening, our winters are pretty brutal, so we usually stay inside more. So try to find activities outside or things we can do elsewhere with the family that's still getting movement in, because that's typically something that drops um, considerably over the holidays, because we stop moving because family's home and we're eating more. So not only are we eating more, but we're moving less, and that's where we see those bigger changes occur that we're not looking for. So if we can just keep that movement up, that can help save those changes as well.
Yeah, use the volume knob analogy, right? Like if you're always rocking at like a 7 out of 10 and then the holidays come, you don't need to put it on mute. You don't need to go to 0 to 10. There's a whole range in between 0 and 7 where you can still exist and still make a little bit of progress. Maybe I'm not getting my workout in 4 days a week, but I certainly could commit to a 20-minute walk most days. Which is absolutely better than nothing. I had a client the other day, I suggested doing a 5-minute stretch on a terrible weather day. And they said, like, what's the point of a 5-minute stretch? What's that going to get me? Well, truthfully, do you believe that a 5-minute stretch is better than sitting on the couch? Everybody's going to say yes, right? It's still moving your body. Is it the best thing possible? No, it's not, but it's so much better than nothing. Don't get stuck in that all or nothing.
Yeah, our bodies are meant to move, and just we always need to think about how we feel after we move. We always feel so much better, even if we didn't want to do it beforehand. A 5-minute stretch can give you those endorphins and that feeling to after you exercise or move. It's just good. It's good for our bodies.
Yeah. I think the last thing I'll add to this whole holiday chat is something that you've mentioned lots in the past, but control what is available as much as possible by bringing one of the dishes, right? Nobody's going to care if you show up with an extra dish of food. Everybody's going to be like, oh, sweet, thank you for doing that. And now you have complete control over what that dish entails. I love that strategy, especially if it is a potluck type of thing. But even if it's not, it's like, hey guys, I brought a salad. Like people are going to love that.
Absolutely. And especially in a world where, it's so normal for everyone to have different dietary restrictions. So even if it's not a potluck, it's normal for people to bring their own things to meals because we all have different dietary restrictions. Well, for you, that just might be, I want to have more protein in my meal, so I'm bringing pulled chicken to the meal today, or whatever it might be. And it definitely is a strategy I use often.
Yeah. Yep. I love it. Okay, so my tip today, it actually kind of lines up with this topic, but it's finding the easiest way forward. So we talk about our bare ass minimums, and what that basically means is not getting caught in that mindset of trying to compare to the best point in your life or the absolute most you can do, but instead look at what is the absolute least that I could do. Even in my worst week possible, what could I commit to rather than 0, right? So a couple examples of this. Somebody the other day asked me if like hummus is okay with their vegetables. Well, because they don't really like vegetables plain, but they'll eat their vegetables with hummus. So this is an impossible answer just to give you a definite yes or no, by the way. Like don't get me wrong, there's a lot of gray area here, but hummus is great. It's super nutritious. It is a little bit more calorie dense than some other options, but is it better than what you were currently doing? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I haven't been eating any vegetables. So then you don't need me to answer that for you, right? Like if you're substituting fast food for hummus and vegetables, don't ask anybody's permission. Do that. That is a huge improvement.
Absolutely.
The other one was like those food orders, like things like Chef's Plate and HelloFresh and
Good food box. Yeah.
Good Food. Those things, like, are they perfect? No. Is it better than what you have been doing? If yes, then it's do it. Like, if anything's going to make your life easier and put you in a better position, do it. Do it without even asking permission. If then you get to the point where now you're not progressing and that's your norm, then we can look at what the next step forward looks like. You might not hit all of your goals with like something like HelloFresh without tweaking some of the recipes, things like that. But if it's better than what you've been doing, do it. If it's going to make your life easier, always look for the easiest way to move forward.
Awesome. So true.
All right, that's it, guys. I hope you found this helpful coming into the holidays. I know this is a typically difficult time of year for everyone. If you're struggling, if you're looking for some guidance, don't hesitate to reach out. The time to take action is when you're motivated. So I know we're gonna have tons of you guys reach out January 1st to start, but if you're motivated and looking for guidance, reach out now. We'll help you navigate this holiday season. We've done it with plenty of people in the past, and we're gonna do it with plenty more in the future. If you enjoyed this episode, if it resonated with you, please make sure you comment, like, share it wherever you're listening. We appreciate you guys sharing it with your friends so that we can grow our audience here. Yeah, thanks. Have a great day.
Thank you.